This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Today we have an older Whirlpool series, I think this is series 70 dryer.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the rollers, the little things. I think it's these guys.
So that's a pretty bad rumbling noise. We're going to unplug it, and most likely it's the support rollers in the back that are having trouble. So we're using a standard head screwdriver to pry off the bottom plate. We lift it out of the way. We're going to remove this spring. We just lift it up to pull it out, and then we'll do one on the other side too. These springs help to hold the door closed. There we go. So we're going to remove these two screws here at the bottom lower left and bottom right that hold on the bottom of the front panel, and then we need to remove some at the top too. So we're going to remove these two Phillips head screws here underneath the filter housing, and then we can pry up the upper panel. To do that, we'll use a standard head screwdriver and come in about an inch and a half from the right and the left and pry up. And we can hinge the upper panel up out of the way. That's going to expose a couple of screws that we can undo on the upper right, upper left hand corner. We're also going to disconnect this wire here. This is for the door switch, and it has two spade connectors. You just pull them off. Maybe wiggle them a little bit. Watch out for the sheet metal. You don't want to get cut. So pull that off. And then we'll zip out these two screws.
We can check that.
So once those are removed, you should be able to take off the front panel. Here we go. We'll get the front panel out of the way, and then we need to disconnect the drive belt from the motor pulley. We're going to push on the idler to your right and then pull the belt off the motor pulley. And then we should be able just to lift the whole tumbler and belt out of the way. That's going to give you access to those rear rollers. They're pretty easy to change. Usually one of them gets worn out, but it's a good idea to replace both of them at the same time. So this one, old one, just fell off, but usually you have to remove a little clip in front of it. And this one, you can tell, is really just fully had fallen apart. No bearing surface left. So we're going to undo this one screw holding the bracket, and then we'll use a pair of pliers to pull off a little spring clamp on the front of the post that is holding the wheel on. So pull that off, pull off the bracket, and then the wheel should come right off. Yeah, that one's really, really torn up. So the kit comes with the two wheels, and sometimes you have to replace these metal posts too, but these two actually look good. They're still in good shape. So it's just the wheel. So we got the new wheel on there. So we'll get the new wheel on the other side.
An outage was reported.
And then once it's on, we're going to put on these little white clips. We're going to put this one on, give it a little push with a standard head screwdriver. That goes on the back, and there's a little indentation. That's going to kind of hold that wheel from going too far in. So that's a nice little guide for it. Put on the wheel. Make sure that one is there's a little guide also on this post. That one looks good. Put the wheel on there. And then there's another little triangular post you're going to put on the front to lock that wheel on so it can't move, can't fall off. There's an indentation, just push in until it locks in. Same thing on this wheel. That locks in. There we go. Put a little cap on this wheel. We're going to put the bracket back on. And then we'll put the little cap on there. Put the screw back in. And we're just going to push the tumbler back into position and put the belt back on. So now we're putting the either wheel back into position. We're going to get the belt put underneath the either wheel. We're going to push the either wheel to the side and then feed the belt back onto the pulley. And before we close everything up, we're going to turn the whole tumbler a couple of times around just to make sure that the belt won't come off before we do the full assembly. There we go. Now we'll put the front panel back on. So I'm going to push it in. I kind of hold it in with my legs, and then I'll put a screw in there to hold on the side of that panel, and then do one on the other side too. Make sure we get those tight. And we got to make sure we remember to put on the wires on the door switch, the two spade connectors. Zip those down tight. There we go. The wires put back on there. That aren't tight, we're going to put this little plastic clip there to hold the wire in position. We can close the top, push it down to where it locks. We'll put those two Phillips head screws back in. I'm bringing down the spring on the left side and then on the right side to hold the door shut. Putting the screws back in the bottom of the front panel, bottom left, bottom right. Then we'll slide the bottom panel back into position. And we're going to push that closed, give it a good shove for it to lock. There we go. Got a couple of Phillips head screws we got to put back in. and just kind of push this plate around until the screw hole lines up again. Take a little trial and error. So get those tightened up. We can plug it in and see if it sounds better. So initially it sounded really loud, super loud rumbling. So now we're going to plug it back in. There we go, and we'll press start.
There we go. That's how it's supposed to sound. That's great.
Sounds a lot better. Hope that's been helpful to you, and you get your Whirlpool dryer working again. Thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe.